The Water Code of the Philippines, or Presidential Decree Number 1067, is the law governing the ownership, appropriation, utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and protection of water resources and rights to the land related thereto. As for the underlying principles of the code, note that waters, as used in the code, refers to water under the grounds, above the ground, in the atmosphere, and the waters of the sea within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. Appropriation of waters is the acquisition of rights over the use of waters or the taking or diverting of waters from a natural source in the manner and for any purpose allowed by law. Under Article 10, water may be appropriated for the following purposes. Water rights and permits. Water right is the privilege granted by the government to appropriate and use water. As a rule, no person, including government instrumentalities or government-owned or controlled corporation, shall appropriate water without a water right, which shall be evidenced by a document known as a water permit. Any person who desires to obtain a water permit shall file an application with the Council, who shall make known said application to the public for any protest. However, there are instances when a person may appropriate or use natural bodies of water without securing a water permit. For instance, when appropriation of water by means of hand-carried receptacles, and bathing or washing, watering or dipping of domestic or farm animals, and navigation of watercrafts, or transportation of logs and other objects by flotation. Here are the basic requirements to apply for a water permit. In determining whether to grant or deny an application, the Council shall consider the following. A holder of a water permit may also demand for the establishment of easements. This is provided under Article 25 of Presidential Decree Number 1067, subject to the following conditions. As for the revocation of water permits may be revoked after due notice and hearing on the following grounds.
To promote the best interest and the coordinated protection of floodplain lands, the Secretary of Department of Public Works and Highways may declare flood control areas and promulgate guidelines for governing floodplain management. There are some measures in conservation and protection of waters and watersheds and related land resources. These are the following. First is that any watershed or any area of land adjacent to any surface water or overlying any groundwater may be declared by the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources as protected area. Watersheds may be declared a protected area, since they are important not only for their ecological and environmental value, but also because they constitute a most vital life support system to thousands of inhabitants directly and indirectly affected, since from these watersheds come the natural God-given precious resource, water. Second is the conservation of fish and wildlife shall receive proper consideration and shall be coordinated with other features of water resources programs to ensure the fish and wildlife values receive equal attention with other project purpose. Third is swamps and marshes which are owned by the state and which primary value for waterfowl propagation or other wildlife purposes may be reserved and protected from drainage operation and development. Fourth is no person shall, without prior permission from the Environmental Management Bureau, build any works that may produce dangerous or noxious substances or perform any act which may result in the introduction of sewage, industrial waste or any pollutant into any source of water supply. Fifth is the establishment of cemeteries and waste disposal areas that may affect the source of a water supply or a reservoir for domestic or municipal use shall be subject to the rules and regulations promulgated by the Department of Health. Lastly is the tailings from mining operations and sediments from placer mining shall not be dumped into rivers and waterways without prior permission from the Council upon recommendation by the EMP. What are the powers and functions of the National Water Resources Board? It is the chief coordinating and regulating agency for all water resources management development activities, which is tasked with the formulation and development of policies on water utilization and appropriation, coordinates and integrates water resources development activities and grants, determines and adjudicates water rights, They are responsible for formulating framework plans for water supply and promulgating rules and regulations for the exploitation and optimum utilization of water resources, including the imposition on water appropriators of such fees or charges as may be deemed necessary for water resources development.
The Presidential Decree Number 1067, a decree instituting a water code, thereby revising and consolidating the laws governing the ownership, appropriation, utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and protection of water resources, utilization, order preference, and conditions for the use of waters. Water may be appropriated for the following purposes. On the utilization of water, preference in the development of water resources shall consider security of the state, multiple use, beneficial effects, adverse effects, and cost of development. We will proceed now to the prohibition and conditions for use of waters. No excavation for the purpose of emission of a hot spring or for the enlargement of the existing opening thereof shall be made without prior permit. Any person or agency who intends to develop a hot spring for human consumption must first obtain a permit from the Department of Health.
Another prohibition is, no person shall develop a stream, lake, or spring for recreational purposes without first securing a permit from the council. No person shall raise or lower the water level of a river, stream, lake, lagoon, or marsh, nor drain the same without a permit. Drainage systems shall be so constructed that their outlets are rivers, lakes, the sea, natural bodies of water, or such other water courses as may be approved by the proper government agency. An easement or servitude is an encumbrance imposed upon an immovable for the benefit of another immovable belonging to a different owner. Different kinds of easements. A. Legal easements relating to water under the Civil Code. B. Lower states have the obligation to receive the water which will naturally flow from the higher states. And C. Easements for public use.
Water districts. Water districts are created through Presidential Decree Number 198 or the Provincial Water Utilities Act of 1973 as amended by Presidential Decree Number 768 and Presidential Decree Number 1497. The Provincial Water Utilities Act authorizes the formation, lays down the powers and functions, and governs the operation of water districts throughout the country. Under Presidential Decree Number 189, water districts may be created by different local legislative bodies through passage of a resolution subject to the decree's terms. Water districts has the following specific powers and functions: sell water to residents within their territory, manage, administer, operate, and maintain all watersheds within their area, safeguard and protect the use of waters, and supervise and control structures within their service area. When there is increase in water rates, the law requires that the district concerned should conduct public hearing regarding the new rate. Said rate should be subject for review by the local Water Utilities Administration, and that rates presented to the public hearing should be the same rates submitted and approved by the local Water Utilities Administration. The local Water Utilities Administration under Presidential Decree Number 198 is established as a government corporation attached to the Office of the President. It has the following functions: prescribe minimum standards and regulations in order to assure acceptable standards of construction materials and supplies, maintenance, operation, personnel training, accounting, and fiscal practices for local water utilities, furnish technical assistance and personal training programs for local water utilities, monitor and evaluate local water standards, and effect systems integration, joint investment and operations, and effect district annexation and de-annexation whenever economically warranted. Note, however, that pursuant to Executive Order Number 123, the local Water Utilities Administration shall cease and desist with its practice of regulating the water tariffs of water districts, which shall be undertaken by the National Water Resources Board. However, local Water Utilities Administration, consistent with its mandate under Presidential Decree Number 198, may continue reviewing the rates of water districts which it has financial exposure with the end view of ensuring their financial viabilities. The local Water Utilities Administration has no adjudicatory functions. It is primarily a specialized lending institution for the promotion, development, and financing of local water utilities. The local Water Utilities Administration has quasi-judicial power only as regards to rates or charged fixed by water districts, which it may review to establish compliance with the provisions of Presidential Decree Number 198. The Local Water Utilities Administration has the power to prescribe minimum standards and regulations regarding maintenance, operation, personnel training, accounting and physical practices for local water utilities, and fiscal practices for local water utilities. The National Water Resources Board, on the other hand, is conferred original jurisdiction over all disputes relating to appropriation, utilization, exploitation, development, control, conservation, and protection of waters within the meaning and context of Presidential Decree Number 1067 or the Water Code.
We are the Young Roots. Thank you for watching.